All right, just for a minute, would you join me in imagining the most amazing team that you've ever seen? What comes to mind? Is it a sports team? Baseball, soccer? What team is it? Football? Is it business? Is it the guys that started Microsoft or Apple or some other company, the most amazing business team? Now let me ask you this. When I ask you to bring to mind the most amazing team, does the team you lead come to mind? How cool would it be if when someone asks you, bring to mind the most amazing team, the first thing that you think of is the team that you lead? Today, we're going to talk about 5 things transformational leaders do to build high-performing teams. If you're new to our community, I want to say welcome. I'm glad you're here. My name is John Boggs. I'm the co-founder of the Brave Thinking Institute, where I also serve as CEO and founder of our business and leadership division. And I love the topic of high-performing teams. I love the idea of championships. I love the idea of creating and achieving things that have never been achieved before. And I love the fact that today we're going to share 5 things that you can do to increase the high-performing nature of your team. The first of the 5 things that we're going to talk about comes out of this book. This book is called The Captain Class by Sam Walker. I absolutely love this book because Sam was a sports writer. And like all sports fans and aficionados, Sam would sit in bars with his buddies drinking, debating what the greatest team of all time is. Was it the Celtics of the 1960s or the Lakers of the 1980s? Or was the greatest team of all time not even basketball? Is it a football team or a soccer team or a women's softball team that won many, many championships? And this debate prompted Sam to go on a research project to, number one, define the greatest teams of all time. He came up with 17 of the greatest teams in any sport of all time through a common formula. And the process of him deciding who the 17 greatest teams of all time were, he then began to ask himself, what were the common characteristics of each one of these teams? What is it that made them great? Is it the fact that they had great ownership? Is it the fact that the teams were well funded, that they were able to buy the best players? Is that what made them great? Or was it some other aspect? And what he writes about in the Captain Class is the fact that the number one thing that the greatest teams of all time had was a particular type of captain. And he was able to document in this book who those captains were and the common characteristics. So for you and me, the number one tip for building a high-performance team is to have the right captain on our team. So what makes up the right captain, you ask? And I asked as I read this book. And I realized over the course of my career, I had had some great captains. Sometimes I wasn't even aware who the great captain was. The great captain is someone that is not always the all-star of the team. Oftentimes, the best captains on these teams were not the best player, but they were somebody that was the most supportive of the other players on the team. The best captain was the captain that would spend time going person to person to make sure each individual was able to perform at their highest level. And as a result of everybody on the team playing at their highest level, they were able to achieve greatness. You see, to even be considered one of the greatest teams of all time, you had to win a minimum of 4 championships. You needed to be a dynasty at what you were doing. And I'm sure you, like me, we want to have a dynasty in whatever our industry is. You want to dominate. You want to be able to perform at a level of greatness. And that's what high-performing teams do. So the first step in creating a high-performing team is to have a great captain on your team. The second thing that transformational leaders do to build a high-performing team is they do what I call fill the bus and build the bench. Jim Collins, in his work Good to Great, talked about making sure that you had the right people in the right seats on the bus. So you want to make sure that whatever the different requirements of the positions on your team are, that you have people filling those roles that can accomplish whatever's required from that position. And great leaders know that there are times we've got to move people in seats, and then we've got to take some people off the bus and put others on. And this is where building the bench is so important. It's really important to recruit new, fresh talent that you can have on the bench that wants to get in the game. It's a very, very healthy dynamic to be constantly having a great bench, so build a great bench, and then make sure that everyone on the bus is sitting in the right seat. So build your bench and fill your bus. And the third thing that you can do is you can engage your team. Ask them. They'll own it. I one time had a situation where I became a new leader on a team that was part of an organization that had 10 teams. And the team that I was leading was the last team. They were the worst team in the entire organization. And when I went in, I just asked them, hey, you guys know we're last, right? And they knew right where they were. And I said, what are we going to do to turn it around? And they began to source some ideas. They began to own where they were. All I did was ask them, what would it look like if we were number one? What would we have to do? They came up with a theme around the idea. They said, well, we would be the greatest show on earth. And so I began to simply ask them, how does the greatest show on earth walk? How does it talk? How does it feel? What does it look like? And on a daily basis, they began to ask each other, hey, is that what the way the greatest show on earth shows up? They were asking each other. They were engaged with each other. Great leaders know how to engage their team. It absolutely can make a massive difference. That team to this day, I no longer lead that team. They're the greatest show on earth. They are the number one team in that company and have been for a long, long time. Engage your people. Ask them. They'll own it. The fourth thing that you can do is ask yourself, what's my relationship with mistakes, with failure? You want to create a particular culture around the idea of mistakes and failure. Is it safe to make a mistake? Is it safe to risk? You know, Michael Eisner, the former CEO and president of Disney, who led Disney for many years, in fact, through all of their greatest growth years as an organization, had an amazing relationship with the idea of making mistakes. And in fact, in the annual meeting for Disney, they would have a Greatest Mistake of the Year award. They knew that if they weren't making some mistakes along the way, they weren't risking enough. There was a moment in Thomas Edison's career where he creates one of the original light bulbs at the very beginning of his ability to make a light bulb, and he hands it to a young boy who's going to carry it downstairs to be tested. Now, one of the original prototype light bulbs was worth thousands of dollars, maybe priceless. And this boy takes the light bulb down the stairs and trips and falls and breaks it. And he's in tears. He's sure that Thomas Edison is going to fire him. And Thomas Edison goes back to work to make another light bulb, and at that time it took weeks to make one light bulb. They go back, they manufacture the next light bulb. It's 2 weeks later, and they're ready to carry it downstairs to be tested, and Thomas Edison turns and hands it to the same boy. And the boy can't believe it. He said, "You're entrusting this light bulb with me?" And Thomas Edison said, "I've got thousands of dollars invested in you, young man. Of course I'm going to trust it to you." That instills the ability in that young boy to know it's okay to make a mistake, but let's learn from those mistakes. What level of risk are you celebrating in your organization? As you encourage people to risk, to try, and let it be okay to make a mistake and stumble, you will build a high-performing team. And the fifth thing that you can do to create a high-performing team is maybe a little surprising, and yet I have found highly powerful. And it's a two-word phrase: by when. One of the things that I've noticed makes a difference between high-performing teams and average teams is their ability to hold each other accountable for deadlines. When are we going to accomplish whatever we have that we think is going to make a difference? It's very easy to get creative and come up with possibilities that will move the needle. And a lot of times people will sit around and dream up ways that we can make a difference, and then they never actually take the action. The two-word phrase, by when, makes all the difference. So whenever you're trying to move your performance to the next level and you've got an idea that you think will work, ground the action with who's going to be accountable to take the action and by when they're going to take that action. Now, as a nuance, there are moments and times where you might not be able to tell an exact by when. So we have a little trick at the Brave Thinking Institute for that, and that is that we allow ourselves to set a by when we're going to know by when. So we never leave ourselves the out of just leaving it in the air. There's always a way to hold ourselves accountable to know by when we're going to take action. It helps ground that action. It helps increase the performance that you have as a team. High-performing teams know by when they're going to take action. Earlier, I mentioned the team that I led called themselves the greatest show on earth. Well, I know another high-performing team that had such an amazing achievement that 20 years after their achievement, they made a movie called The American Underdog. It's the story of the St. Louis Rams and their leader, Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner was a football player that wanted to play professional football, and yet he had just not been able to show his talent to the degree where he could play in the National Football League. And so he was bagging groceries at a grocery store when the opportunity for him came to join the St. Louis Rams. He led exactly in alignment with these 5 ideas that we've talked about today to create high performance. And as a result, they began to play better and better and better. And ironically, like the team I led that was called the greatest show on earth, they called themselves, those St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf. Turf being their field that they played on. Kurt Warner played amazing. He led amazing. That team was a high-performing team. In fact, they set records for all-time points scored in the National Football League, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. You too can have high-performing results when you put these 5 things to work to increase the performance of your own team. And now it's your turn. I would love to know what you're doing that creates high-performing teams. If you would, share it in the comments below. I always read them. I want to know what you're doing that works. It makes a big difference when you're willing to share. And if you enjoyed this video, click the like button, follow this account, and share the video with someone that you think can get some value out of creating a greater high-performing team. Until next time, my name is John Boggs. Remember, think bravely and act boldly.